Hey guys, and welcome to another installment of Nathan's Beer Reviews. The beer I'm going to be reviewing for you today is the Great Northern Brewing Company's Original Lager, a 4.2% alcohol by volume Australian style adjunct lager, brewed by the Great Northern Brewing Company up in Yatala. I think it's pronounced Yatala, in Queensland, for Carlton and United Breweries. What can I tell you about this beer? Well, on the label, the Great Northern Brewing Company was established in Cairns in 1927 to brew beer specifically for the local conditions in Queensland. Cairns is a regional satellite city of Australia. It's about it's about 2,000 k's north of Brisbane, so it's a fair way north. It's right up the top, in the Cape York Peninsula, if you're familiar with Australian geography. And it's always hot and humid up there. It's sort of right up in tropical North Queensland, right up where the Daintree rainforest is. Got the Great Barrier Reef, very tropical, very humid, very warm. Beautiful area of Australia, though. So in tribute to this brewery, the Great Northern Brewing Company now continues this tradition by delivering a beer that is brewed longer to produce a super crisp, refreshing lager that's perfect for the endless summer of the Great North. Endless summer of the Great North is a great way to describe it. I was up in Cairns about 2 months ago, early spring, and we're talking 30 to 35 degree days, in the middle of, late winter, early spring, and the humidity is just through the roof. So this beer is definitely brewed for really warm, muggy, hot conditions. It's, having been sort of, the Cairns brewery was shut down, I believe, in 1992, so 26 years ago now. And in 2010, Carlton United reopened it and started brewing this, obviously in direct competition to the success of 4X Castlemaine and 4X Gold, which is one of Australia's most popular lagers. And that is owned by Tui's. 4X Castlemaine is owned by Lion Tui's, who are owned by Kirin. With Carlton United, of course, being owned by Anheuser-Busch. What else can I say about it? Not a lot. The big beer review websites, Rate Beer hates it. They give it a 1 overall and a 12 for the style from 40 ratings for a grand total of 1.72 out of 5. Beer Advocate doesn't have a page for it as of yet. They have a page for their Super Crisp Lager, which is the mid-strength 3.5% alcohol by volume version. But aside from that, it comes in, I think, at about 126 calories. And it's fairly fresh. It was brewed on the 11th of August 2019. So actually before I went up to Cairns. But yeah, I've had it before a few times. It's not too bad. It's got more flavour from what I remember of than 4X Gold. But I'm going to crack it open into this pub schooner, which is what it's most likely going to be found to be poured in if you're in an Australian pub. So without further ado, I've just come home from work. I've worked about 40 hours in 3 days. I work at Sydney Airport. We've had some terrific storms over the last 3 days, which have delayed flights and caused absolute mayhem across Australia. So I've been working some pretty long hours, and I've got 3 days off. I've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday off before the Christmas period, which I'm working right throughout. So I'm keen to have a few beers and enjoy myself while I can. So all these beers are twist tops. Decent little amount of smoke on the opening there. For you cap heads, you got a gold crown with a silver marlin. The silver marlin was the logo of the old Cairns brewery, so this is definitely sort of a beer that Carlton United have tried to almost revive and sort of bring back. Obviously at one point it was a source of pride and for the Cairns region. So, but yeah, they come in these clear bottles, so they're obviously trying to go for almost a Corona style look, but also try to replicate the success of 4X Gold. But yeah, poured into this Australian style pub glass, schooner pub glass, it looks very much like it does in the bottle, looking very much like a standard Australian Adjunct lager. That light straw golden colour, very clear, extremely filtered. You can see right through the beer. Good levels of carbonation flowing up to the top, aided by the widget that is in the bottom of the Australian schooner. Foaming up to a one finger of quickly dissipating, soapy, frothy white head. I don't know if the camera's going to quite pick up on it, but the frothiness of that head, just the way it sort of starts clumping together, suggests that there's a bit of an adjunct in the beer, or an enzyme that helps to dry the beer out a bit. The smell, there you go, my curse of snorting the beer has resumed. Classic Australian Adjunct lager smell. If you've ever walked into an Australian pub or an old school pub, it's got that, really musty smell. Some people refer to it as like a wet cardboard smell. I would say not. You are definitely picking up like that soggy cardboard. If you've ever put your recycling bins out before, they're collected every week, and it rains, and you've got that slightly wet, dank, cardboardy sort of smell. There's Pride of Ringwood hop in here. You've got that classic sort of musty bitterness from the Pride of Ringwood. Very malty sweetness. Very light hop aroma. Probably going for like a hop extract, a hop syrup sort of thing. I highly doubt they use fresh hop cones in this. Yeah, so it smells alright. It smells somewhat refreshing. A little bit musty, which is a bit typical of Australian adjunct lagers. Definitely getting a bit of corn in there. Yeah, corn is the adjunct. Maybe a bit of maize or something. Anyway, let's dive in, guys. So, cheers. Right off the bat, again, this lovely, parallel sweetness with a bit of bitterness from that Pride of Ringwood hop. It's very highly carbonated, as most Australian lagers tend to be. Has a really nice dry finish in it. A little bit of dryness from the Pride of Ringwood hops, but as I mentioned before, I think there's a slight. They've added an enzyme into the beer to dry it out slightly, but not as much as I've found in Australian beers like Tui's Extra Dry. Yeah, but that's definitely present. Got a nice malty sweetness that just underlines the beer. It's not too pronounced. It's not like some of the pale ales I've been drinking, which, it's a bit syrupy. It's a bit, chewy. This is just a nice malty refreshness. It's a very thin, slightly watery body to it. But again, that's perfect for the Australian summer, the Australian heat, when you just want something light, you want something refreshing. And at 4.2% alcohol, 2 or 3 of these, 3 or 4, you'll get a nice buzz from them. So, yeah, again, a little bit of that hop profile as well, especially with the bitterness. Yeah, it's a easy drinking Australian adjunct lager. It is. It's not offensive. It's clean. Cleanish, even though you are getting that adjunct muskiness, that slight wet cardboard, wet carpet sort of thing. But if you can look past that, it is clean, it is crisp, it is highly carbonated, and on a really hot day, ice cold, it is suitably refreshing. Yeah, it's not a great deal of taste going on with it. It is quite malty. but it's malty and bitter, and it is refreshing. And you know what? For an Australian adjunct lager, it's actually a pretty decent beer, in my opinion. I think it's definitely better than 4X Gold, which I haven't reviewed on this channel yet. I will get around to it. And I think it's better than some of the other adjunct lagers, even though it is a bit thin. It is a bit watery. There is, I suppose, a blandness to it, but at the same time, there's enough going on with that malty undertone, with that Pride of Ringwood bitterness. The only downside is that, yeah, there's a bit of an adjunct cardboardy taste going on. And there is that enzyme which just, you know, that dries out the beer in an unnatural fashion. And I often find that the clear, obvious sign of that is the head. You know, when the head of the beer starts doing, you know, that it starts frothing up in clumps. I often find that's a clear and obvious sign that there's usually an enzyme or something they've dropped into the beer to help dry it out. You know, when your head foam starts looking like sea foam. If you've ever walked along a beach or a lake or something during really choppy, windy weather, and it whips up that sea foam, which is usually an off sort of brown colour on the ocean, but it's given the same sort of clumpiness that one associates with that sea foam. But, you know, negatives aside, it does its job as an Australian refreshing lager, you know, on a really hot tropical day. This is an excellent beer to drink. It's not the world's greatest beer by any stretch of the imagination. You know, craft beer snobs and lager people who don't enjoy lagers are going to throw this beer down the drain. And if you look at, you know, Rate Beer and their ratings for it, you know, that mirrors the sort of view that of anti-lager drinkers. But for me, it's not a terrible beer. It's just a decent, refreshing Australian adjunct lager. You know, it's not a beer to ponder and sip on and get too complicated with. It's just an easy drinking summer sipper. So, what am I going to rate it? I think it's a decent beer. You know, it's nothing fancy, but it does the job. I'm gonna give it a B minus. I think it's a decent Australian adjunct lager. It's clean, it's crisp, it's refreshing, and that's what you're looking for in our warm weather. So, in terms of, you know, that's what I'm looking for in hot conditions, this is going to tick those boxes. So, in that regards, I do enjoy it. So, I think a B minus is a good score for it. I'll continue to buy it if it's around and it's cheap and it's really hot and I want something to refresh me. So, cheers guys for watching the review. If you liked it, please click subscribe. Please like the video. Please tell me what videos you'd like to see me review down in the comments box, and I'll try to get around to reviewing them as soon as possible. So, I'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks.